Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. And we are going to have a heck of a show today. We've got guests from Sony Imageworks in to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I am so excited about that. We've got some dedications to put out there, though. First, the new member, Spherical. Thank you so much for your support. You rock. 2 birthdays today, Adrian Leon and Dennis Leteric. And it's also my birthday today, so I get a little Spidey action, and I am so psyched about that. And Blade Blur, thank you so much for your very nice comment the other day. You rock. Let's get started with your rundown. Thanks to the success of Aquaman, DC is diving back into the ocean to fish for another big hit. Warner Brothers and DC are reportedly developing an Aquaman spin-off movie that will focus on the dark underwater trench featured in the film. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the new movie is being produced by Aquaman director James Wan, and like his previous Saw and Conjuring movies, it will have a more horror-centric tone than Aquaman and other recent DC outings. It's also expected to have a more modest budget, which might be difficult to pull off given all the underwater photography and computer animation that will likely be required. For those who haven't seen the film, the trench is a terrifying underwater kingdom populated by ferocious mutated cousins of the Atlanteans and was first introduced in comic book form back in 2011 by Aquaman co-writer and producer Jeff Johns. Aquaman has so far made more than $1.1 billion at the box office. Who could have called that? So it's obvious why the studio wants to keep swimming in the same seas. I enjoyed that trench sequence in the movie, and the movie, it felt like DC and Warner Brothers threw everything they could into this movie. It was like 9 movies. It was like all of the Lord of the Rings, and then they threw some Star Wars in there, and then they threw the Justice League in there, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and James Wan got some horror stuff. So I guess what they did with all that expense to build this thing is they said, well, we can spin this off in a million different ways, and here we go. We're going to have a trench movie. Who would have called that? This Aquaman phenomenon is incredible. Marvel may be parting ways with Netflix, but they're doubling down with another big streaming service. Marvel Television is partnering with Hulu to create no less than 5 new animated shows based on Marvel characters. They are the villainous MODOK, the ape assassin Hitmonkey, the heroic duo Tigra and Dazzler, and finally the one and only Howard the Duck. They'll make up the first 4 shows, and all of them will join forces for a 5th show called The Offenders. Almost said Outsiders. This sounds suspiciously similar to the Defenders shows that Marvel produced with Netflix, but with that partnership coming to an end, Disney is keen on developing more content with Hulu now that they're about to become the major shareholder of the platform. I am excited about these things. They sound very experimental. I know that Kevin Smith is somehow interwoven into the mix here, and it sounds like it's going to be edgy and more sort of adult-oriented with some of the content in these things. I think they're going to have a lot of fun. And, you know, when you get into animation, as we're going to talk about when our guests from Sony come up, there's less of a restraint on imagination. You can kind of do what you want with the camera and go where you want with, the big sort of explosive set pieces within your stories. So I think they're going to have a lot of fun with this, and I am excited. I don't know much about any of these characters, though, and I'm looking forward to learning more from the shows. All right, and speaking of animation, it looks like Sony wants more from the people behind Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Deadline reports that Sony has won a bidding war for Last Human, a new animated movie from Spider-Verse producers Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Last Human will take place in a future where humanity has become extinct and focus on a group of robots who discover and adopt a lone human girl. This will reunite Lord and Miller with Sony following the success of Into the Spider-Verse, which has become a smash hit both critically and commercially and already won several big awards. We'll be speaking with 2 of the film's animators, Joshua Beveridge and Humberto Rosa of Sony Pictures Imageworks, right after the rundown. And you know what? After the dismissal of Lord and Miller from Solo, I can't think of a better Hollywood story than those guys being attached to Into the Spider-Verse, which is just such a phenomenal film and clearly has put all kinds of heat and attention on these two terrific filmmakers. And now I think I speak for a lot of Solo Star Wars fans out there that are very curious to see if we'll ever get a Lord and Miller cut of the Solo film. But yeah, I expect these guys are going to be going crazy. They've got the Lego Movie 2 out there right now as well, so I think people are going to be going nuts for Lord and Miller work. And we'll find out if Sony Imageworks is ready to talk a little bit about what's next for the Spider-Verse very soon. But right now, we've got to throw to this day in everything cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for February 11th. On this day in 1997, one of the world's biggest cameras got a major hardware and software update. The Space Shuttle Discovery launched on a mission to service and upgrade the Hubble Space Telescope, improving its scientific instruments and research capabilities for the first time since the telescope was put into orbit in 1990. The new instruments allowed Hubble to make important discoveries about the age of the universe and, a little closer to home, discovering new moons around Pluto. The Hubble Space Telescope has since been updated again several times, most recently in 2005. February 11th, 1999 was a big day for the Final Fantasy series. Square released Final Fantasy VIII on the original PlayStation, although a North American release wouldn't follow until September of the same year. It was the first big game in the series since the massively successful Final Fantasy VII was released 2 years earlier, and as such, it had a lot of expectations to live up to. It used similar 3D graphics with pre-rendered backgrounds, although there were big changes in the overall character design, as well as gameplay differences like the absence of magic points. To this day, fans are divided over whether or not 8 is better than 7, so feel free to tell us which one you think in the comments below. The Phantom Menace got its revenge on all its haters on February 11, 2002. The game Star Wars Racer Revenge sped onto the PS2, serving as a sequel to the N64 game Episode 1 Racer. Like its predecessor, players could compete against each other in the high-speed pod racers, arguably the only good thing about the Phantom Menace. And the game was a hit, getting better reviews than the movie itself. This was the last Episode 1-centric game that was released because Episode 2 came out just a few months later.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
All right, we are joined by two incredible guests. Let's give it up for Josh Beveridge and Humberto Rosa from Sony Pictures Imageworks. They've come down to our electric playground at VFS Cafe space here at 390 West Hastings. And yes, this space is open to the public. It's not just for students. And the students are always super busy right when we start the show because they have their lunchtime and then they go right back into class. So sometimes we get a few of them, but we haven't got to that point where we get the whole class coming down for this. I'm working with the school, and eventually you're going to see a lot of students in here. But you can always come down if you are just interested in the topics that we talk about here on the show. And today we've got something very special. It's like a birthday present for me because we get to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, Joshua, you are the head of animation at Sony Imageworks.
I have that honor, yes.
That's amazing.
Lucky position.
And Humberto, you are the lead animator on Spider-Verse.
He was actually the first animator to join with me and the last one to wrap. So he was on for the whole journey of animation.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Well, made emojis in the middle, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. You guys made the Emoji Movie as well. This is very different. And one thing that I want to say about Into the Spider-Verse is that I think Pixar has been just such a huge force in CG animation and so inspiring, I think, to a lot of studios and a lot of movies that come out. But the thing that is just amazing about this movie is that it doesn't look anything like any Pixar-type movies or really any other CG animated movies that have come out, since Pixar has gained so much attention, I feel.
That means so much to hear. That was absolutely the goal from the beginning. Just be different, take risks, take a big swing. That was from the top down. Usually, as artists, you have to ask for permission to take risks and try things, especially in these big budget projects where there's so much organization, so many expenses, and so many risks calculated. For all of the team, both artists and leadership, asking for big swings from day one was an incredible opportunity.
That's awesome. Was it a sense of feeling free with the Spider-Man myth and the familiarity that was already sort of embedded out there in the world, that you had some trust in that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say free. There was definitely we had high expectations, and we knew that there was a lot of care and importance with the Miles origin, that people were paying attention and that mattered. Right. That we needed to land. It felt like we were walking a tightrope where artistically freedom was absolutely part of the process, but that it mattered.
Humberto, how many iterations do you think you came up with, sort of illustrating Miles for the first time and, showing it to Lord and Miller and the director? What's the director's name? I forget.
There's three directors.
Three directors.
So it's Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman.
Okay, and so they had a script and they had a vision. Did they already have, some images that they said we want to animate to this, or was that something that you guys presented to them? How did that all come together?
They brought in some of the best painters on the planet, all collaborating to come up with looks for us to try to world build from, and then we did exploration. We had a good sandbox of a year to try and find our look and try and find something that we could move and live in before we started making it. But there were some very cool looks we got excited about early on.
So
but engineering them was the real trick.
I bet you had concept art to kind of build from.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, and models, and like not just concept art. Like they had already been making the 3D look like the concept art. We just still had to figure out how it moved.
Yes.
Which is always a tricky thing to do.
Yeah. Well, one of the things about this movie, and I think it's it's a little weird, I think, for some people, right? When they come into it, I had one of the reviewers that saw the Vancouver screening swear it was a 3D movie that we didn't get 3D glasses for. But I could see that you guys had crafted, like the image was kind of off of the dots a little bit, like it was a comic page, and it's a real love letter to comic books.
100%. All of that, like that was that was another one of the risks. We knew, because we wanted the world to feel like it was printed in ink. That meant there couldn't be any of those like soft gradient blurry things.
Right.
And blur is how you focus, camera focus. So we had to use offsetting, like a misprinted comic, to be focus.
That is amazing. And I caught that, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching a comic book on screen, as if I'm flipping the pages, and you guys have animated between the panels.
That was every risk we had to take. We banged on a solution that, again, once the decision was made in ink, that caused a ripple down effect of all of these different factors. Like, again, because there's nothing soft, it had to feel like it could be only made in ink. That means that we couldn't have motion blur, and then that led to us moving the characters in a completely different way than we normally do too.
That's awesome. I think you could probably spot who works out of California and who works out of Vancouver here.
It's snowing today.
It's freezing in this city right now.
I mean, to be fair, I'm from Argentina. I'm not used to the cold weather.
Okay, all right.
I've been living in Vancouver way too much.
You've acclimated, but I have to ask, how that sort of works for you guys, because you were talking before we rolled here that 90% or 98% of the movie was made here. So is it just the internet is fast enough that you guys can have that sort of instant communication, or is there a common language, or is it just so ingrained now?
There is that we've been working this way a lot, so that we've gotten better and better at it. It's become more routine, and some of the team does travel back and forth, because there's some things you just need to do in person. The brainstorming is always best in person, just see those little micro reactions to see if something's really setting in or we're understanding each other. But there is something nice about talking remotely through a camera too, that's actually more personal. Usually back in the day when everyone was in the same on a floor of desks, and you do desk rounds, you go around one desk to another, and you're like backseat driving with them. It's uncomfortable to be talking about the work in an abstract space between you. You're looking each other in the eye. In a weird way, that part of it's more personal.
Okay. Humberto, did you work in LA too, or have you always worked in Vancouver?
Always in Vancouver, yeah.
Okay. And how do you find the process of collaborating with an LA team and directors that are there, but also probably working on other projects at the same time, right?
Yeah, I find it interesting. I think in a project like this, where we, the leads and the animators, we had a lot of creative freedom. A lot of the movie was just like, these are our boundaries, and this is sort of what we know works. but whatever's in the middle, you can figure it out however you want.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to have the distance, because then it gave us here in Vancouver a lot of time to just iterate between us, have our own little, I guess, private meetings, unofficial meetings, desk and face to face.
And you take a lot of ownership for them.
Exactly.
Those kind of things you're solving.
And then once you present it to review, it's a bit more formal, but you've already worked that a bit further than you would probably have if you have Josh here or the directors here, and you can just show them at your desk or something like that.
Awesome. And the studio that you're in also does work in live action as well?
Yes.
So there's a live action effects sort of background there too. Did you happen to work on The Amazing Spider-Man or any of the Spider-Man Homecoming or anything?
I didn't. You did?
Yeah, I did a little bit for the last one.
Okay, cool. And does that inform when you go to a CG movie, or is it's a separate animal?
I think as an animator, it absolutely does. I personally love that Imageworks does a wide variety of looks and styles.
Sure.
So we don't have like a house style that everything's dogmatically the same.
Yes.
So that I think you learn so much more. It gives you more opportunity to learn from other aesthetics.
Yeah.
But for Spider-Verse, we set out with the ambition to clearly not be the way we've been typically working. We didn't want to be a cartoon, and we didn't want to be recreating reality. So we were trying to avoid things we'd done before and pick and choose our favorite parts of those. But
you're winning awards like crazy. But I'm wondering, it's incredible. I mean, congratulations, and they're all deserved, by the way. Golden Globes, the Annie Awards, the Visual Effects Society Awards. You're nominated for Best Animated Picture for the Oscar. I know you're going to win it, and you deserve it. But it's amazing to see. I mean, you look at the poster, and all those things are there. But did you know that this was going to hit? Was there a moment where it was like, oh my God? And one of the things too. Well, I'll talk about this in a second. But did you ever know?
No. We weren't thinking about it, honestly.
Okay.
We, I mean, when we're not exaggerating when we say we felt like we were taking risks, and risks inherently mean it's going to be divisive or there's a chance of failure. I think we felt like we were on a tightrope, and there's a big. When it's not right, it was really wrong.
Yeah.
So and that fear of failure was with us the entire time, especially when it was our secret. For the first, all the development part, and we were just starting to build the style and like hone into it. It wasn't until the trailer went out there. Well, we're still, like the trailer, the first teaser trailer went out. That was the only part of the movie that had been made.
Yeah.
That's all
really?
that existed.
Okay.
And we had to reverse engineer how to make that part of the movie later.
Yeah.
Oh
my God. We're learning some secrets today. I guess that's like a sliver in a game or something that they always do. Like.
Yeah, I mean, we meant it. It was a tease. It was meant to be a proper tease, and then the response was so amazing. That next day into work was euphoric for everyone. Like, it gave us a sense of confidence, and we got bolder afterwards.
That's awesome. I play this soundtrack all the time. The soundtrack is amazing for this movie. It kind of reminds me of how important soundtracks were in the 80s, like with Back to the Future or Ghostbusters or Terminator or something, where you would just hear them all the time. And I feel the same way about the soundtrack to this movie. And I'm wondering if there was any animation sort of coming together as music for the film was coming together at the same time. It feels like an album when you watch the movie, like it's just cut so beautifully to the music.
That's very cool, but all of these things get workshopped down to the 11th hour. So the sound especially is an 11th hour.
Okay.
We're often working with temp tracks, so we have an idea of tone and what we want to, but the actual final mix is something we get to enjoy with the audience.
Yeah. How did you get the New York feeling so authentic, and the cultures that we see? Not only sort of in Miles's world, but permeating through all of these different dimensions. You guys really nailed all of that stuff.
That was animation. You get to do a beautiful thing where you get to build everything. It's all a choice. Every building that's made is a choice. So, the team chose to make the New York feel like a character itself. Specifically, each borough have its own identity. Brooklyn, where Miles is from, it has to feel warmer and more colorful. It's got shorter buildings, and Manhattan is abstractly tall in this colder but more electric feel. So that heightened the drama and difference between those two worlds. And because it's animation, you get to exaggerate and distort things to enhance that emotion.
Yeah. You've got Stan Lee in the movie. And a spoiler for anybody, but
Yep.
really, it stands in everything. Had he had a chance to really see anything from the film?
The directors did show him a work in progress, and they got to share with him some of the scenes, and I think he was. What I heard was he responded really well to it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Brian Michael Bendis is the guy that created the character of Miles Morales, and he has been effusive. He's been like dancing and like crazy and reposting all kinds of stuff about.
Oh, that's amazing! I didn't know that.
He is an amazing guy to follow because
I'm not on Twitterverse. All right.
No, yeah, well, that's probably not a bad idea.
All right.
But he works at DC now, but he's still incredibly proud of all of the contributions out there. But I'm wondering if he ever came up to Vancouver. He's a Portland guy. I don't know if he ever visited the animation studio or anything like that, or you heard from him?
I don't know that he did. We did hear. He was in touch with some of the team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure when.
For story and for I think they would.
Yeah.
Directors would had early contact with him for sure.
Okay. Does it ever work where you guys are animating a scene or putting a piece together visually, that you go back to the writers and say, maybe we should change the tone here, or maybe we should, think of some new lines of dialogue here. Let's shift things around. Or does it always start from the script and you animate to the script?
This was one of the least animation's a visual medium,
Yeah.
so the script is the backbone of it. But it's so workshopped. It usually goes the other way around, where once we've started a performance, in fact, some of the directors have told me once they started seeing how we were leaning into this style of performance, that it left more space, that they felt like the characters needed to say less things. They could emote them, express them silently, and that little space is like animation gold.
Right.
And to hear that was confirmed was interesting. Sometimes we would pitch. There's a thing we think we could do better in performance, but more often than not, it's they see something and that triggers a new idea, and it just it's honed down till the end.
That's awesome. How did it work in terms of getting feedback from Los Angeles? Was it like you guys would cut pieces together and you'd get dailies coming back to you every day, and they'd say, tune this, tweak this? What kinds of feedback would you get?
Yeah, I think for the most part, once we had found the style and we knew the kind of movie that we were making, the notes were really about performance. And sometimes about like choreography of how blocking a shot. But it was mostly about what they wanted to feel like, and then it was up to us to figure out the technical aspect of how to get that. But yeah, once the style was settled, it was just about them reacting emotionally to what they wanted to see in the scene, and us then having to cry in a corner, saying no big deal, give me a minute.
How many different dimensions did you guys end up sort of crafting for this film? I know we get the noir, and we get the Spider-Ham and Spider-Gwen, and
And you were a big part of 2099. That
and
was
2099,
that was an
yeah.
11th hour. That was we were doing, and it was weeks before it was in theaters, and we were trying to figure out how to get that one.
No
done.
way!
Yeah.
Oh my God! So how many were there? Other dimensions that didn't make it in, or little sort of Easter eggs and things that didn't quite make it in time?
There's a lot of exploration for looks of other dimensions you saw, like alternate versions of those people's dimensions. There's a lot of exploration with those, but we didn't build universes that didn't end up on screen. There's certainly versions of the story and script and boards before it came into our side of production where some of those ideas were out there.
Yeah.
But we built the characters you ended up seeing.
This is kind of excruciating in the same way that Insomniac's phenomenal Spider-Man video game is excruciating. Like, all you want is way more. Yeah. But it's not easy to build a lot more, is it? I mean, you created so many tangents for us to just get invested in, but now we have to wait.
That's true. I think they say that's a good thing, right? Leave them wanting more.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite element or a favorite part or favorite dimension that you were crafting along the way? I'll ask both of you guys.
You go first.
I'm just a big fan of Miles. Miles is the one I worked the most on.
He was the hardest to find, too.
He was the hardest to find, and it was so rewarding when we actually found him.
Yeah.
And then he was charming, and he was this cool kid. So yeah, working with Miles and like everything that's Miles related to me is super special, and I think he's by far my favorite.
The relationship with his father. I mean, I cried in this movie. And what was amazing about this movie is I saw it with two comic book artists. I saw one's a writer. They're both writers, but we were all crying in the front row, and it was just so effective. And
Wow.
I don't know. Did you guys know that you were going to hit emotionally? And I read Twitter feedback about this movie from like comics and stuff that go and see, like people that write for Saturday Night Live. They go into seeing this, not knowing what they're getting, and they come out changed.
That is one of the things I'm most proud of, like the diverse style of performances we got to marry in this movie, where we had that sort of drama, that sort of authentic, honest performance you don't often get to do in animation.
Yeah.
With like like the voice acting was stunning, so getting to live up to Brian Tyree and Mahershala's like voice is incredible.
Yeah.
That and then the engineering I'm all equally proud of these abstract characters like Penny and Ham, just being able to have that universe stand with there. That was far more complex than it probably looks like. And then the fight choreography, I just have a special place in my heart for. I love action films, and getting to do all of those together.
Yeah.
So I pick and choose my favorite on the day.
And then you have just complete asides like the '60s Spider-Man just popping in
Yes,
there. You know, just incredible.
Nick Cage killed it.
It was really, really funny. You guys have done something cool with the software that you used for this film. I understand that it's going to be open source, or there's some part of the animation that you're sharing out there.
That is true, and I'm too dumb to understand that part of it.
Humberto, do you know what's going on there?
Not a lot. I know there's one piece of software that's being released as open source.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's something we used in animation. I think it's more of a color correction thing.
Oh,
that
okay.
was
The
used in
lighting,
post.
the back-end side.
But that, I mean, still, that speaks to you guys cracking through with something our eyeballs had never seen before. And that must feel really damn good.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Have you heard from, I mean, you're not up against slouches either. You've got The Incredibles 2 out there right now. So I'm curious if you've heard, and it was a good movie. And I'm curious if you've heard from peers or colleagues that work at Pixar or Disney or some of the other studios that are in that world.
I was lucky enough to attend the Annies, and one of the beautiful things about that event, that award ceremony, is like we heard Spider-Verse, and you root for your team, you start clapping, and it felt like our applause had echoes. And it felt like the whole room was rooting for us.
Wow.
That people were rooting for art, and it felt magical and special. And I'm really grateful for getting to experience that.
You guys have done a lot of movies, but has there been a movie like this that has registered like this so far from the animation side of Sony Imageworks?
This feels special. That seems like a question we could only answer in hindsight, but
Yeah.
right now, this feels very special.
How long do we have to wait for more? That's what I want to ask. That's what everybody wants to know out there. Can you give us any ballpark? Is it?
They're working hard.
They're working hard.
They're working hard.
Yeah.
Again.
I don't care what you give us either. It could be more miles. It could be any one of the
But
spider.
you care, and you want it to be done right.
Yes, absolutely.
So.
True that. Yeah, you don't have to rush anything. Just make it beautiful. And thank you. Thank you for the work, and thank you for giving us this incredible movie, and thank you for making this a special birthday for me and coming on the show. Great
Absolute
to meet
pleasure.
you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the kind words.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to a review right now. This is a game called Chasm. I've been playing a retro-styled game on my Nintendo Switch called Chasm, and I've been really digging this title. It's made by a company called BitKid. It's a sprite-based action-adventure title that's definitely in the vein of a Metroid game or a Castlevania game. And yes, I know you're saying, oh my god, there are tons of these games on the Switch. And there are, and frankly, there are better games in this kind of genre or this variety on the Switch. But Chasm still has a very cool charm unto its own, and it's addictive. You're this up-and-coming adventurer, and you get sent out on a mission to go and find a bunch of lost miners. And of course, what you have to do is dig around inside of a mine with all kinds of different pathways and destinations and dead ends. You fight bosses, you collect magical items, you collect loot that you can then go back to shops that you unlock, and they will in turn unlock all kinds of great abilities like the opportunity to throw axes at bad guys or magical shurikens. You can change your outfit a little bit, although they don't really change the sprite graphics at all. Like you can put on a new hat or a bandana or new armor or something, and nothing really changes too much there, which I thought was... I hate that in video games. I always like, if I'm going to change my outfit in the menu, I want to see it rendered when I go back to my character, and it really drives me crazy when... I guess Zelda has spoiled me. Even Mario Odyssey spoiled me a little bit for that. But still, at the core, the gameplay here is pretty damn solid. There's a lot of hack and slashing. You've got some projectile attacks as well. You're going to get up close and personal with, zombie creatures and bats and ooey gooey slime creatures and little rats that will come at you, little sort of spiky porcupine things. You got to kill them all and then get to some cool bosses that will unlock new areas, and you'll meet little people along the way, cute little sprite people, and they will guide you into new adventure and new danger. And pretty soon you're going to fill up your roster of not only beasties that you've unlocked inside of the journal, but you can also have a whole plethora of townsfolk that you will once again breathe life into the town with, and you'll feel like a rock star. And you know what? It's addictive. It's tried and true. It's not really kind of reinventing too much, but it's fun gameplay, and it's stylishly made with a cool soundtrack. I like the aesthetics. I like getting lost in this game. I appreciated the game in handheld mode, but you know what? There's something, and it looks great on the handheld screen for sure, but there's something about the cleanliness of the sprites and the graphics coming at me on my television screen that I just really sunk into. Very fun, very addictive. It's not the best in its class, and the Switch is loaded with lots of great choices here. Kind of reminded me a little bit of SteamWorld Dig. That's one of the titles that I think is a little bit cooler than this because of all the extra abilities, and I like the story a little bit more. But still, Chasm is one to look out for. If you've got everything else and you still have that Metroidvania urge within you, you should check this one out. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, that was a charming game, but not quite as charming as having two people that worked on Into the Spider-Verse join me on the show. So cool that Joshua and Humberto were here. Those guys were awesome. We've got some more Spider-Man goodness coming up in a little bit, but right now, let's take a look back at a buried treasure. Today's buried treasure suggestion comes to us from That B. Shar on Twitter, Brian Sharon, who says we should take a look at Giants Citizen Kabuto. This came out in the year 2000. Got a fan for Giants Citizen Kabuto behind there. Came out in the year 2000, developed by Planet Moon Studios. A lot of that company's team members were made up of folks from Shiny Entertainment and Virgin, lots of talent at this place, and they came up with a very cool blend of different genres. It's a blend of an action game, sort of third-person overtop, and you can hack and slash and do all kinds of great combat maneuvers, but it's also blending a lot of real-time strategy in there. You had three different factions: Sea Reapers, Mecharins, I believe they're called. They had little jetpacks. The Sea Reapers are a little bit more fantastical, had some pretty cool magic abilities. And then, of course, you could play as the giant, Kabuto, and the giant was just devastating and massive and could bust through walls and had big teeth and was very scary. You also had all these little tiny characters called Smarties, which play into the real-time strategy element there, where you could use them to build bases and go and gather resources to make your factions a lot tougher. It did come out for the PC, came out for the Mac, and it's also out there for the PlayStation 2, so if you can find it, I think you're just going to marvel at the imagination and what this incredibly talented company could do with so little in the terms of resources. They still made a pretty killer game, and it would be amazing to see a game like this revisited in a modern setting. I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be cool. Until then, Giant Citizen Kabuto remains a buried treasure. I'm reading your comments and stuff in the chat. It's great to see everybody. Canadian Bot 92, Jamie Andrews. You've got that correct, buddy. Put question or comments in all caps for us. We are starting our Let's Play and Chat. And the one thing that I want to say about the interview that I just did with Sony Imageworks is I didn't want to spoil too much about the movie. I didn't want to get into spoiler talk with those guys because I know some people haven't seen this, and it's just about to hit home video. I think it comes out on home video next month. You have to pick up this movie. You got to see it. It's incredible. It's going to win huge at the Oscars. It's going to be the most awarded animated picture probably in years, and it deserves every one of those awards. But right now, it's time for Let's Play and Chat. Let's invite our good friend Warco A, who gave me a massive super chat. Thank you so much. So that's what it takes. You come down to the stage, you come down to watch us in the cafe, give me a super huge super chat, and then you're on the show. There you go. And you get to play Spider-Man, which I know was your favorite movie of last year because you were in our Rocket and Ray Gun Awards.
Yeah, I was.
Good to see you, my friend.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Your real name is Marco.
Yeah, Marco.
Okay,
Correct.
Marco.
Yeah.
But you're Warco A. Do you want people knowing that's your real name?
Well, it's too late now.
Yeah, it's too late now. Sorry.
Spoiled.
Spoiled. Sorry, buddy. Okay, so you have to play it off of this screen, which isn't
Okay.
which isn't ideal.
Yeah.
Hold on one sec. I'm just going to start this thing again. So it's. Yep.
Shout out to the EPN Discord.
Oh,
because
that's
I know
that's
a lot
awesome.
of the guys are watching. Ty Fish, Darth Taz, Blade Blur.
Blade Blur's in there, and if somebody puts the Discord URL into the
Yeah,
chat, people
that'd be
can jump
perfect.
onto there and sign up and get in there. I will be back in there soon. It's been crazy.
Everyone's like, where's Vic? Where's Vic?
All right, so what we've done here, and you can show that you know how to play this game, right? So you're all good. So go ahead and play. And have you guys all played Spider-Man? Has everybody played Spider-Man? It was the you haven't played this? Oh my goodness, yeah, it was our Game of the Year winner. I mean, it could have been Red Dead, it could have been God of War, but this was such an incredible game. And one of the things that you like to do is the photo mode.
Yeah, I love
so
the
you can show off photo mode whenever you want, but we're playing through the Into the Spider-Verse suit right now. So this is the suit that's in the movie, and it's absolutely perfect. The shading on it's a little bit different. The lighting on it's a little bit different than the rest of the suits. So while Warco plays, I will answer a few things. Will there be any DLC for Spider-Verse? I think this is it, but it's not for the movie, it's for the video game. Apex Legends has hit 25 million players. Canadian Bot 92 has just ruined my rundown for tomorrow. Thank you very much, Canadian Bot 92. You want my job or something? Dweaz is still not interested. Twisted Magic says, happy birthday, Vic. Taz says, happy 25th birthday for the 20th time. Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much. Warco face reveal. There he is.
Yeah,
Warco
I'm here.
DLC right here. This is it. Oh, comment. Only Blade Blur can send the link during the live chat. I don't know if Blade Blur's in here. Oh, there it is. So Blade Blur has put the Discord link. This is Blake Siefkin, everybody. A little cameo from Blake. Let's see what we got in here. Wesley West. Apparently, Giant Citizens Kabuto was going to come to the Xbox, but was canceled. Yes, those were the days. Those Planet Moon people were awesome.
Long time
I
ago.
know. Many years.
My PC wouldn't really run it well.
That was all the Earthworm Jim guys.
Was it really?
Yeah, those guys had done Earthworm Jim, and then they left Shiny and went and started Planet Moon Studios.
That game for the time was ambitious.
Yes, so good. And I think, let's see what we got here. Amy, I was thinking of ranking all the MCU movies because of that reason, but I think the market for that stuff is saturated. Oh, I think you're talking about videos that you might release, my friend. Let's see what we got here. Pretty amazing animations, huh? I love that no matter what suit you wear in this, you pop into the cutscenes in that suit.
And the beginning of this game is so cinematic,
So
intense.
powerful.
It's good. It's really good.
Rowan Strata, have I heard anything about the new Avengers game? No, and I've done a little bit of digging, but nobody's telling me anything. I've been trying to find out some stuff. Man, all this Spider-Man talk without Tommy is weird, Mr. Joey94. And listen, I tried to, because I visited in television not too long ago, and I tried to, look, it's Spider-Man from Into the Spider-Verse. It's so cool. I tried to get Tommy to review this game with me. I wanted to hear his thoughts, but, you know, he's selling a new machine now. He's Mr. in television all the time. Maybe there will be a Spider-Man game for that machine. But it won't look like this, I don't think.
16-bit.
Yeah. Question, hey Vic, happy birthday. Haven't seemed to age since you were first on TV. Wondering, what is the game you are most looking forward to this year? I mean, if a Batman game gets announced, that's the game I'm most looking forward to this year. But I think it's probably... I think it's Cyberpunk 2077. That's sort of on the bubble of it being out this year. I think that's the one that I
don't know if it'll be out this year, but it'll be amazing if it is.
Yeah, I mean,
for me, it's Death Stranding.
I want to see Death Stranding for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's between those two.
Yeah.
And I am super psyched for Days Gone. I don't think that Last of Us 2 comes out this year because of Days Gone. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
I agree.
I'm excited for the reveal of the PlayStation 5. I think we might get the PlayStation 5
Really?
this year. I think it might be here. Hey Vic, it's Brian C. Osden. Oh yeah, 9-year-old who you interviewed at Nintendo Canada in 2017. Not 9 anymore. And he's got the same birthday as I do. Osden does. That's awesome. He's 11 today on February 11th. So 11/11 is very cool. Question from Jamie Andrews, could you do a quick review of Aquaman? We did do a review on our Film Fury channel, but a quick review would be, just keep pouring money on it! Just spend money, build the effects, just make it big! We
And
gotta
Jason
make some money.
Momoa.
And
Awesome,
Jason Momoa,
man.
yeah.
That guy.
Gotta make some money for us! And it worked.
Try everything.
Yeah, throw everything! What? No, cancel those movies. Throw them into Aquaman. That's what Aquaman felt like to me. But it was so overwhelming. It's like, how could you not like it, right?
It has everything.
It has every
literally.
movie. Is in
And
that
just
movie.
Jason Momoa is genuinely good
And he's
action.
a charming dude. Yes, he's got a great YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys follow Jason Momoa on the socials and stuff, but his YouTube channel's hilarious because he's just had a crazy 6 months or so. That was a good question, Jamie. Twisted Magic question: why do you think Activision is laying off so many people? That's a heavy question. Activision is laying off a lot of people partially because people are getting a little bit sick of paying for little microtransactions, and I think there's been a big movement away from that. And I think what we're seeing with the success of Apex Legends and the very competitive free-to-play market is a lot of gamers are just sort of like, what? I'm going there, and they're spending all their time there. And it's not even so much about money. It's like 25 million people are playing Apex Legends. They're probably not playing Fortnite right now or PUBG. So those games, which have been very successful, are suddenly feeling a different kind of pinch.
Yeah.
Right? And Activision has been feeling that with Overwatch because there's some impedance there, and Destiny 2 didn't live up to the sales expectations, and they lost Destiny 2 to Bungie going. And I think it's pretty cool that Activision didn't get in any kind of a legal thing. They said, nope, this is your baby, and you can run with it. And it'll be interesting to see what Bungie now does with Destiny and how that business model all changes. But yeah, I think it comes down to people, I think, feeling a little bit exhausted about pricing, and not knowing where to jump in and not knowing which piece of software they're buying allows them early access or the full access to content. And
yeah, buying games has gotten complicated.
It's really strange, right?
But the options are good. Like, all the options for people to get in is awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, like, if you're interested in the business of video games, like, it's confusing. Like,
it's very confusing.
Free to play, making so much money and asking for $70 for like a big production suddenly has become like too much, and
free to play looking better and better. And I think we're at the beginning stages of the Netflix kind of era for video games, that kind of cloud streaming kind of thing. And so what's happening is studios and companies are dealing with huge change and market share shift. We're seeing GameStop be affected by all of this in a heavy way. They can't sell the company. They're changing policies within the stores to try to keep revenue in as much as possible. But at the same time, games like this and God of War and The Last of Us and Nintendo's first-party games, which are sort of engineered for single player, are still selling really well. All the value is implicit and it's intact, and you can see why the game costs as much as it does. I feel like that's what it is. I mean, if you're playing a shell game with how much a game should cost, and then a month later, the savvy players out there know that if it doesn't sell, it's going to go to half price, like we just saw with Fallout 76. How does a game company stay ahead of all of that and make what it's expecting or suggesting to its investors? And that's honestly the challenge that Activision has, is they got to keep their investors happy, and that's why the layoffs are happening.
It's tough. You got to have a lot of different kind of fires and things going on the fire. Like, you have to be diverse, because if you rely on one thing, you're toast.
Yeah. Quiet Lion Gaming, thank you so much. I've been with you since your Judgment days on G4. I've always loved your content on EPN. Happy birthday! Thank you so much. Thank you for your super chat. That's so cool. And here's a small present from Blade Blur. That's a very kind, very generous thing. You gave us one the other day. I wish I could do more, since you deserve a lot. My question is, since today is National Victor Lucas Day, what are your top favorite games of all time? Much love. That's hilarious. I'm going to loop in the Arkham games as my favorite games of all time, and could put all 4 of them in there. I love those games very much. I love the Uncharted games. This game is very near and dear to my heart, and it just grew and grew. My favorite game of all time is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, however, on the Nintendo Switch. I could not believe how much that game transported me, and I can't believe that that's my favorite game, and it came out last year. And one that always is near the top for me is Robotron 2084, which is one of those games that has just persisted through my whole life that I freaking love, and that's Eugene Jarvis just, being a genius with design in the early 80s. Developing an incredible game. So, good question. And that list changes from time to time.
Do you still play a lot of twin stick shooters?
I do, but none holds the charm. And I really wish that Warner Brothers owns all those Midway licenses. And I really wish that they would do something with them. And even go back to Eugene and say, make us Robotron again. But let's use some polygons, or let's do something, because he also did Smash TV, which is also incredible. And I think if you look at Smash TV and Robotron, you can't beat those 2 games.
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
Galaxy Wars is close for twin stick, but those 2 games are seminal. Question. Sorry, another question, since you mentioned PlayStation 5. This one's from Sidesuck. Do you think that the next gen will be hardware upgrade and the new games will be playable on old consoles, same as Xbox One X and PS4 Pro? Yes, I think backwards compatibility for software you have purchased online or in disc form is going to be paramount importance for all hardware going forward. Partially because it's becoming increasingly more expensive for the remaining developers, and there is not an abundance of AAA developers out there at that scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going to be very important for people to have a back catalog that they can access. And I think we're moving towards, never letting go of software, apart from maybe licensing rights and things like that, or squabbles that people get into and say, no, I'm taking it off the store, and then they'll bring it back. But I think that's kind of what the industry is moving towards, that true idea of a digital shelf that you'll always be able to access stuff off of. New member, SamIam111, thank you very much. Thanks for joining up, and happy birthday from Jamie Andrews. Thanks for all that I've done. Thank you, Jamie. You're very sweet. Thank you very much. And Dennis Lipteric, I did wish you a happy birthday. I don't know if you caught that, but thanks for my... Oh, you did. Thanks for wishing me a happy birthday. Got the new Spider-Man game. Can't wait to play. I love that This is brand new for people, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Aren't you kind of jealous of them that they haven't seen?
Well, I haven't completed this yet.
Oh, okay.
I've stayed at 90% because I'm like, I don't want this to end. I'm like, I don't want it to end.
I
please,
just beat the crap out of this game. I just kept playing it. I played it with my daughter too, and she just got totally sucked into all of it. It's an incredible one, incredible game. It's Adrian Leon saying it's just funny. Spider-Man on the phone with his Aunt May with his costume on. Yeah, totally. Hey Vic, am I excited for the new Flash movie that's coming out soon? I don't know how soon that Flash movie. I guess now that Aquaman has made so much money, I'm sure there's people at Warner Brothers are very emboldened about their future movie slate. Yeah. I think we'll probably hear something about Green Lantern soon too.
Probably.
And I like the kid that's playing Ezra Miller. Yeah, he's okay. Who's playing the Flash?
Oh, he's playing the Flash now.
Yeah, but I love Grant Gustin. I think he's phenomenal casting in the show. I love that show. It's not every episode that turns out to be perfect, and there's a bit of a CW schmaltiness about it all.
Yeah.
But it's a great show. You know, it kind of burns me that they can't blend those worlds, because I think Stephen Amell is a great Green Arrow, and I think Melissa Benoist is an amazing Supergirl, and now they're going to have to recast all of these characters again.
Yeah,
you know, and I think
start over.
Yeah, but I feel like these actors fit well with the tone of Aquaman. Not the tone of Batman versus Superman.
Yeah,
and not the tone of the Justice League.
Justice.
I don't know if you guys saw this on Fat Man Beyond, which is Kevin Smith's podcast, but I was watching that and I thought this blew me away. But Kevin Smith was talking with crew members that worked on the Justice League movies, and he found out all kinds of extra stuff about what they were going to put into the Darkseid fight and all that. But they called it the Justice League when Joss Whedon took over after Zack Snyder left, and I thought that was hilarious. And I'd never heard that before. Fat Man Beyond. Question from Game Freak 84. Happy birthday, Vic. Stupid question, but do you ask for video games for your birthday? Any retro games on your wish list? No, I don't ask for video. I don't ask for anything. I've been spoiled with my career and the cool experiences that I've had, and I get to play more games than anybody could ever ask for. I am still on the hunt, though. I actually ordered because you guys know I'm obsessed with cartridges with superheroes in them for Super Nintendo and Genesis, but I ordered Mutant Apocalypse for the Super Nintendo, and it didn't arrive. I got my money back from the vendor. I bought it through Amazon, and I got my money back, thankfully. But yeah, I don't ask for video games. That's crazy.
People are probably wondering what I'm doing here. It's like the inverted controls are.
Oh,
like,
you can switch that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah. I'm sorry, my friend. Yeah, I didn't even. Let's.
I'm like, how do you do it?
I've been playing that way. I think it was GoldenEye that taught me how to do that, actually. So invert off, and we're gonna turn that music off too. There you go. Boom. There you
like,
go.
He's just hanging out in Fisk Tower. Yeah, I'm checking out Fisk Tower. I'm seeing how things are going with.
Now you know what it's like for me when I get early access to games sometimes, and they forget to put in that invert control, really? And then I'm just terrible. And then I've got like 7 people that worked on the game just behind me. Is everything okay? Or do you know what you're doing? No, I just can't control my camera. Famous Seamus, hey Vic, happy birthday. I have been an EP fan since around 2007. Thanks for making the great entertainment. Thank you for watching. This is my dream come true, that I get to do this kind of stuff, and that you guys care enough to watch, and I really, really appreciate it. Comment, gift shopping for Vic must be a nightmare, Red Baron 223. Partially because I've been doing this for so long, and I have all of these little things that I've collected and I love, and I get to talk about them, but also because I'm not a kid anymore, and I think as you get older, you just start to collect all the stuff that you kind of need. Like, one thing that I've noticed, and you guys will all notice as you get older, is you'll end up buying the same shirt over and over and over again. You'll go into the store and you'll like, I bought this like 15 years ago. Oh well, I'll go buy it again. And that happens more times than I'd like to admit. Abby Jameson, comment, Mutant Apocalypse is so good, I know, and I want that damn game. Haven't had time to play because we've had a nice run of good releases recently. What can we expect this week at EPN Live? Good question, Jamie Andrews. We've got some traveling to do. Blake is going to Montreal for an event, so and I've got a family trip. It's kind of it's my kid's birthday on the weekend, so we're doing something nice. But we're not going to be doing EP Live on Wednesday and Friday this week. We will return next Monday. And we've got a guest from the TV show Deadly Class is going to join us. Siobhan Williams is her name, and she's going to be our guest in on the show. And I hope you come in to watch the show live. She's fantastic. She's done some video game work as well, and it's going to be super fun chatting with her. And then coming up on the 20th, to be confirmed. But Brian Provinciano is going to be here soon. Shakedown Hawaii.
Retro City Rampage.
Retro City Rampage. And March 1st is David Hayter, but we have to lock that down for sure. But he's coming to Vancouver, so.
Metal Gear fans over here, so
that's going to be super
exciting.
Fun. Blake Siefken off saying happy 23rd birthday. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, man. Remember when we were two children when we started this? 6 years old. What does this button do? That actually felt like last year. Has VFS asked to help you teach PR and marketing to their students yet, Twisted Magic? Not PR and marketing, but I think there will be some kind of, working with the camera and talking to the camera kind of stuff that may eventually evolve out of it. The first thing that VFS and EPN wanted to do was just start working together and bring the show in and offer this up to the city and offer this up to the students and the teachers and find new ways to kind of collaborate. And then we're going to work on some other things, so stay tuned with that. Are you excited for the upcoming Batwoman TV series that the Last Disciple asks? And of course I am. I can't wait to see that. I like Ruby Rose. I think she's cool. Do you keep a CRT TV to play your retro games on? Game Freak 84. Yes, I do, but I don't. I don't use it. All the retro machines that I've got now have HDMI, so I have that analog Super Nintendo, the Super NT, which is insane. I can't wait to get the Genesis version of that. I've got the Retron 5, and I've got that at-games Sega Genesis thing, which is okay. You can still plug cartridges into it. So everything's going through HDMI. I have a Jaguar hooked up to a CRT TV, but I never turned that thing on. Yeah, and I almost brought the 3DO in when Tarney Williams was on last week. I was going to bring the 3DO in and we were going to play Need for Speed on the 3DO, but I don't have Need for Speed on the 3DO.
Really?
Yeah, I thought I had it. I have Road Rash, but I don't have Need for Speed on the 3DO, so I didn't bring it in. Welcome, Quiet Lying Gaming. Thank you so much for your support as one of our members here. Love Deadly Class. Very cool, Taz. You got to come on down, my friend. Vic, did you claim your free breakfast at Denny's this morning? Canadian Bot 92. Damn it, I blew it. But they serve breakfast all day. Can I still go to Denny's and get my free breakfast?
Probably.
I can? Yeah? Oh, okay. I'm doing it then. Take my ID. Pardon me? Oh,
man.
Boo. You're such a buzzkill.
I think Red Robin does. Free advertising for Red Robin.
Red Robin?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
And Starbucks,
too. Have I had a chance to watch High Score Girl on Netflix? No, I'm currently watching Night Flyers, and I've heard that The Expanse is streaming season 3 on Amazon. So those are kind of in my periphery right now, and I'm trying to still be caught up on The Flash, and I'm getting there with Arrow. A lot of shows, man. There's a lot of shows, and then I've been watching. Like Mads Mikkelsen has a movie out every week. He's the new Liam Neeson. Let's not mention Liam Neeson right now, shall we? Yeah.
Yikes, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Mads Mikkelsen, he's all over Kojima's Twitter.
Yeah.
Like they're it's like a bromance, him and Norman Reedus as well.
I'd like to be Mads Mikkelsen's friend.
Yeah.
That guy is the coolest dude in the world. You know, he was a dancer before all this stuff.
Really?
He was a dancer and an acrobat and a model, and then like he got into his late 30s or something and became an actor. But he's had like multiple careers. And he's incredible in Arctic. Something cool with Arctic, the director of the movie, I just posted the review in the last EP Live, but the director of the movie watched my review and then reached out and said, thank you so much. And then,
That's awesome.
And then he started following me on Twitter, and so now I'm going to try to get him on the show. So, but he did an amazing job. His name's Joe Penna, I think so? Joe Penna? Amazing. But he's got a big YouTube presence. KFXG. I love the effect that's given with the animated suits and the more detailed world in Spider-Man PS4. There's a comment. It almost makes everything else look more realistic. Yeah. I asked the folks at Insomniac if they ever thought about doing the whole world in this cartoon look, and it would be way more work than we think it is. But they like this juxtaposition.
Yeah.
They like this kind of thing. I think they are fully done, right? They also put the Fantastic Four bag.
Yeah, with the bag and everything.
I think that's it. I think they have fully finished work on this, and they're now working on whatever's next. Quiet Lion Gaming, favorite indie game? That's a great question. Oh man, that is a great question. I mean, Inside is up there just because it was so shocking. But I really love the SteamWorld Dig games. Those were really fantastic, you know? There's so many great indie games, though.
So many.
Yeah.
So many. Yeah.
I mean, Owl Boy rocked. I love that. Man, I think you might have stumped me. I mean, the first games that pop up in my mind whenever somebody says indie game, it's the SteamWorld Dig, and I was introduced to the first one on the DS or the 3DS, but 2 I played on the Switch, and it's just phenomenal. Both of those games are awesome.
Well, you were saying you're playing Wargroove as well?
And Wargroove is
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, you'll find out soon. I don't want to spoil reviews that I've just shot, but yeah.
Still watch the review, please.
Please watch the review. Dead Cells is excellent. Cuphead
Yeah,
is excellent.
Dead Cells
Solid
is
choices, Vic. I know it's a tough question. I love Owlboy so much. I love that game. It's so good. And Wargroove. Okay, let's not talk about Wargroove. Ixnay on the Wargroove talk. The review coming still. Can't keep up with all this stuff. Question, hey Vic, what are your thoughts on the new Shazam movie? Do you think the character is popular enough that the movie will succeed? I think it will. I think Zach Levi is a tremendous talent. He was great in Tangled, which not a lot of people know, and of course he was great in Chuck, and he actually stood out even against, you know, the iconic Chris Hemsworth and the other people in Thor. Suddenly, Zach Levi's there, and he stands out because the guy's got a big, you know, capable personality. And all the teaser stuff that I've seen with Shazam is awesome. It reminds me of the Greatest American Hero. And I love the character. I love the idea of Billy Batson becoming a superhero. It's a great idea. I was a fan of the old 70s TV show when it was in reruns when I was a kid watching that. You're too young to remember that, but it was just it's a great concept. And I read a few of the comics growing up, and I've picked up Shazam action figures over the years. So yeah, I think it's going to do well. Question, is this Spider-Man game your favorite superhero game, or is Arkham still on top? The Arkham games are still on top. And I think there's so much that was learned from Arkham in this game. And the developers will readily, admit to that. But Arkham also learned so much from Metal Gear Solid and from Metroid Prime, and from seminal titles out there, and they fused it into the perfect quintessential Batman experience. And that's why, I mean, it was when I saw that Arkham Asylum at E3 in I think 2008, I was like, this could be the best game of the year. This could be it right here. Because remember the curse of Batman games, there were so many lousy ones, but I was feeling it. And when that game came out, I was like, oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. And then they just got bigger and cooler. Was a question from Amy Jameson. With Streets of Rage 4 incoming, what Sega franchises would you like to see them make a comeback? Comic Zone. I would love to see them go back to that. That was such an innovative idea where the
character. Heard of that
it's such a great thing. The artist is illustrating the panels of the comic book as you're jumping through them, and there's something to be made out of that again for sure. Maybe with licensed characters, although Sega doesn't work with they used to work with Marvel a few times actually over its lifespan. But I also like the Vector Man games. I think they published Gunstar Heroes, so it'd be great for them to go back and work with Treasure on a modern version of that. That would be awesome. Question, favorite comic arc, graphic novel? Well, Dark Knight Rises, I think, is one that pops right into my mind. But I also loved the Batman and Robin books that Frank Quitely launched with. He became one of my favorite artists. I loved the Paul Pope Batman 100. I thought that was awesome. And I also loved the the Superman, is it a Man for All Seasons? It's a 12-issue arc where it's very heavy, and Superman gets infected, and he basically has to go back through his life, and it's, there's a lot of contemplation and a lot of real emotional weight in that book. I thought that was great. I think that's Grant Morrison. I can't really remember all the details, but excellent question.
Were you into?
Oh, and also Old Man Logan blew me away when I read that.
Old Man Logan.
And Planet Hulk was amazing, and there's Spider-Man arcs too that I've loved over the years. Dan Slott's phenomenal. I love the launch of Ultimate Spider-Man that Brian Michael Bendis did. I've started to read a little of the Miles Morales stuff that Bendis has been doing. Lots of good books.
Were you ever into like the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man or?
I not really. I was a DC guy back then, so I regret that I wasn't. I've read a little of the Frank Miller Daredevil stuff, and I've liked that. I love Matt Fraction's work as well. He did some excellent work on Hawkeye. I thought that was terrific, and his stuff on Iron Man was amazing. And Bendis, I think. I loved the Extremis story that Adi Granoff illustrated for Iron Man. That was excellent as well. Great question. Oh, and the Marvel Star Wars stuff is just killing it too. Question, are you planning to upload any more classic EP episodes? I love the late 90s zaniness on that show with you and Tommy. I want to upload everything, but I want to do it when we're funded enough to do it properly, and I still haven't figured out what that means yet. I don't know if it's a crowdfunding thing or if it's a corporate sponsorship or working with somebody to do it properly, but I'll give you a perfect example. Tarney Williams was on the show, and while he was here, I was trying to figure out where the first time that we met was. And I was looking through season 1 of the show. I think he was in our first season because we were on the floor of the Vancouver Grizzlies doing the interview about NBA Live 98. And it was a great way to meet somebody from the video game industry, and I wanted to show a clip of that, and I couldn't find it in our YouTube videos because we just haven't had time to go through and properly catalog everything. And that's the crap that I don't want to, ignore. I don't want to just post these things and then they're just buried. Like, I want them to be very easy to find, all of these things, and searchable, and all of that takes so much time. And if Blake and I are focusing on that, we're not focusing on building this and bringing in new guests and building new content, So, good question, and when we're ready, we'll release more. Okay, this is going to be the last question, my friends, but we'll be back with more EP Live, and more rundowns are coming your way, and more content is coming. Question from KFXG, any character you want to see in the MCU? Personally, I would love to see Moon Knight if possible. I would love to see Daredevil on the big screen. I love that character.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate the Ben Affleck movie because I didn't have that much... there was some cheesy stuff about it for sure, but I wasn't that familiar with the comics work, so when I saw it, I was like, there's some cool stuff in here. But I love the character. I've gotten to read some of the books and love the show.
Yeah, Daredevil's great.
I wouldn't mind Charlie Cox, I think is the guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind him being in the MCU and putting Daredevil on screen, but that's an amazing character. And one of the things they didn't do in the show enough is put him in the suit. And putting him in the MCU would give them the ability to amp it all and make it really cool. But I love that character. Great question. Love all this comic stuff. Love Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't seen that movie, get to the theater or order it. It's amazing. It actually comes out on the 26th digitally, I think just in time for the Oscars, so you can watch it on your devices. But it's phenomenal. And thank you to our guests at Sony Imageworks today. Thank you, Warp Away,
thank
for
you.
The great birthday present and the birthday present of your
thanks
company.
Thanks for
here.
this. This is amazing. Just big fan of your content, and awesome to be here. And hi, everyone.
And you set the precedent. If you come in and you give me a super chat, you're going to be up.
That's
no,
key.
you don't have to do that. But that's very sweet, brother.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. We'll be back with a brand new rundown for you, and there might be 1 or 2 reviews popping up on the channel this week as well. Brand new EP Live we'll be back with on Monday, February 18th, so please come and join us live if you can, and keep watching the channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. You can like, you can subscribe, you can join. There's merch on our epn.tv/merch page if you want to wear an EPN shirt. And all I ask is that you have fun, you play forever, and we'll see you next week.